Thank you everybody for joining us today on this Contrail training series. We're going to be talking about Contrail Camera, which is our latest application that's been around for a couple years now, but it's a great application for bringing in images and adding additional capabilities and insights into whatever your mission is. And so this training series is going to be focusing on gaining greater visual insights and situational awareness. So looking at the utilizing Contrail Camera to add additional functionality and capabilities to your current operations. My name is Charles Yost. I'm a product marketing manager with OneRain. I've handled the product management for Contrail for some time. And so today I'm really excited to show you what we've been working on for the last year or so with our Contrail Camera framework and the additional functionality we've been doing with AI and object detection. So we're just going to kind of just jump right in and kind of set some background for this. Most of the people I think on this call is fairly familiar with the Contrail ecosystem, but we'll discuss it and kind of look at how traditionally the industry has looked at operations and situational awareness through data and quality data. And then we're going to kind of intro camera here in about 5 or 10 minutes and kind of give a walkthrough of that, the functionality of that. And fortunately, for us at least, there is a rain event going on in San Antonio overnight, and so there's some flooding going on for some of their low water crossings. So we'll be able to look at some images and time lapses live for that. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So just kind of some background here before we get into Contrail cameras or Contrail Camera. Contrail is and throughout the industry, the kind of traditional way that we go about looking during an event at what's going on in the industry is through data that's collected. Now we won't get into how that's data collected. We won't get into telemetry and types of sensors. We're primarily going to be focusing on the software side and review how we visualize that and make decisions off of that. And so this is not meant to be a complete view of that situational awareness, but we do want to kind of provide some background and give some kind of basics of that. So here I have Bexar County, Texas, that I was mentioning previously. This is the county that San Antonio is located in. They have a large number of low water crossings where water can easily flow onto the road. And so we're going to be using their system just to kind of walk through, because they are very situational awareness and operationally oriented agency. So when they have a flooding event or water on the road event, they're very active with their system, both in notifications, but also notifying the public and swift water rescue as needed. So we're going to kind of walk through their system now. So traditionally we look at and probably 80 to 90% of decisions are based off of stations that are out in the field. So these stations can be recording anything from atmospheric variables like air temperature and wind variables, but in this case we're going to be focusing on water and water level variables for this webinar with the context of cameras. So they have a number of what's called high water detection systems, and that doesn't really matter for the larger context of this presentation, but that's if you see some of that, that's what that means. So let's go ahead and click on this Abbey Road station here. So we have a couple ways for understanding situational awareness within the Contrail platform. The first is through the actual sensors that are recording data out in the field. So we can either directly be measuring, we can directly measure the variables to see what those impacts are. So this is a water level sensor that's located at this site, and we can see this black line right in the middle that's centered on 0. that is the road level. So in this case, they're very cognizant, and everything about their situational awareness is geared towards, is there water on road? Do we need to be closing roads? And is there anybody within those flooded areas that we need to be sending resources or swift water rescue assets into that area to make sure that no one is stuck or potentially in a dangerous situation? So everything that they have is centered around zero. For some agencies, that might be low-lying communities, that might be in a floodplain, it might be critical infrastructure or schools that might be close to a flooding area. Whatever that is, typically gauging and sensors is typically the first place where you start, because it's always on, it's always measuring, and we're able to do a lot with that data when it comes in. So the first thing is obviously just looking at the data, understanding what the context is, and making sure that it's good and valid, and that we're seeing it. So the first thing that I always like to do is turn on the markers, because this is alert or alert 2 data. We should see data points trigger as that water level rises. And so we could see we had a jump where it jumped from almost 2 feet, right? So this was a very quick event that started, and then we see those consistent data points lining up and cresting a couple hours ago. So we could see, first off, right off the bat, from a situational awareness perspective, this is a real event, and we can verify that if we had other water level sensors or other direct sensors that are measuring what's going on out in the field. Thresholds are another great way to provide situational awareness. As I mentioned, we have the road level is highlighted in black here, and we have a site activation for them. They have flashers and gates that can turn on or lower depending on what that water level is doing, as well as a road level. Other agencies like to have maybe the record water level for this area, or other criteria that maybe match up with the National Weather Service and their color schemes. Whatever that is, starting with the data and thresholds is a great place to start with for your situational awareness. The second kind of area are kind of secondary variables. These are data that is derived or utilized by your agency that is maybe not directly measuring what your impact are, whatever you want to monitor, but you can ascertain data or understanding what's going on just by looking at that data. And so in this case, it's rainfall. The vast majority of flooding for them is driven by rainfall. It's not done through dams or other outlet structures. It's entirely driven, or river flooding. It's entirely driven by flash flooding that occurs from rainfall in their case. And so we can look at the rainfall. In this case, they did get some rain, not a ton, but they did get some rain overnight that is driving some of this. And so this is the rain gauge that's located at this spot, at this particular gauging site. But we would also want to look at the gauges that are occurring, that are recording upstream and up in the watershed. The kind of second way that we also like to look at it and get situational awareness is through alarms. We want to see and have those alarms triggered. Typically, you want them to line up with what your thresholds are for consistency and within the application. And then finally, kind of taking it the next step. So instead of looking at it maybe a site-by-site view of what's going on and making and driving decisions off of that, we can create dashboards within the Contrail ecosystem. And this is a great way for pulling all of the sensors into one spot to confirm what's going on out in the field. Or you can look at it multiple sites all in one spot. This is great for if you're looking at, let's say, a particular watershed upstream of a low water crossing, trying to decide on when to look at that. I'm going to jump over to our demonstration site because it looks like the Bear County system is a little slow loading right now. But dashboards, again, are a great way to look at individual data and multiple data sets and combine it all in one spot to get that kind of complete situational awareness view. And so we've talked a lot about dashboards, so I'm not going to go into specifics here, but we have a lot of widgets that we can tweak and create, including a new data table, which is awesome to look at multiple sensors, as well as graphs, and for visualizing that data, both the current readings relative to maybe a cross section of a river stream, or the timeliness, what's been going on over the last 24 hours. If we're looking, let's say, at river flooding, we might want to look at the timeliness of gauges upstream. This gives whatever user is trying to make decisions off of, this is a great spot to pull up that data and to have that kind of situational awareness of what's going on with the data itself. And so we have some webinars you can find on our YouTube channel that discuss dashboards and getting that kind of complete view utilizing dashboards. It's a great way to make the software work how you would want it to work, and to utilize and get the most out of every single data point that's coming into the system. And so while we utilize this data, and this is, like, again, 80 to 90% of, a lot of the decisions that are made, a data point is just that. It's just a single point in time. And it's often hard to see, are things getting worse? Are things getting better? Is there debris on the road in this case? Do we have down power lines and maybe we should close it before the water actually gets to the road? Do we have any cars stuck at this location? Do we need to send out a tow truck to remove this 18-wheeler that's blocking a road, or whatever might be going on at this site? So a lot can happen, and more impacts can occur than just this 11.34 feet that we might see at this location. And so this is where cameras come in. Cameras are a great way to get that additional situational awareness for what's going on. Cameras, obviously, a picture tells 1,000 words here. A camera allows you to see everything else that's going on at a location and not just that data point. And so that was really the impetus for creating Contrail Camera, and for agencies we've seen have been embracing it more and more. Everything from pan tilt zoom cameras that have a high zoom that you can move around and get a complete 360 view of what's going on, to even just a single quick snapshot. You can think trail camera type cameras that are maybe low resolution or low configurability, but still just gives you exactly what you want. And so with that, we're gonna kind of focus on, for the rest of our time here, Contrail Camera and how we can utilize cameras to get that additional sense of what's going on. So with that, let's go ahead and jump back on our Bear camera, or Bear County system, and let's go back to this this Abbey Road, and we can see this site is obviously in some sort of event here. We saw it with both the water level 1 pressure transducer, and we're seeing it also with the redundant pressure transducer. We're seeing that peak right over the top of the road in the site activation here. And so they have Bear County has a camera that's integrated with this site, and so we can jump in and see what that site looks like. Before we do that, I just want to kind of give a brief overview of the Contrail Camera system, just so we're all understanding everything, and this allows us to kind of speak the same language as we work through some of this. So I've logged in as Bear County. This is their instance of Contrail Camera that's running in our cloud. Contrail Camera, for those that are unaware, is our image collection platform. The primary Contrail application brings in data from sensor data and site data from lots of different sources. The Contrail camera application focuses exclusively on images. So it's able to either scrape or receive images, and it's independent of the camera hardware that's out in the field. So it uses open protocols like FTP, SFTP. And we can also scrape images either locally or on a web server to pull those images in to the system. It stores those images because oftentimes, if you're just looking at the most recent image, you might not get the entire picture of what's going on. So having that history allows you to see everything that's going on, both currently but also in the past. And then we can do a lot of cool things once we're storing those images. We can do things like time lapses and movies, and eventually, as I'll show here, we can do object detection, which allows you to really get that complete picture, even though you might not be monitoring it 24/7. So I've logged in here. This is the home screen. You can see the location of their cameras out in the field. In this case, cameras, you can think of it as kind of a site out in the field. It is a single, what we would call a single camera view. Some cameras can take multiple images and then send it. In that case, or in this case, a camera is just a single view. It's a single point in location, obviously, but also whatever location or view that camera is looking at. That is what we would define as a camera. And the reason we do that is we do things like time lapses and image storage and movies and things like that. We want it to be the same angle and view every single time. So we have cameras in the Contrail camera application, that is our site, if you will. And then we have the images that are associated with those cameras. That is what gets either pushed to us or what we scrape either out on the web or locally at that camera to bring in. We have a couple different ways we can look at those cameras. So at the top, we have quick links. And over on the left-hand side, I'll just walk through that. Cameras is kind of, you can think of it as our site list. You can go through and look at each one of those cameras that are defined within Contrail camera. You can also look at it on a full screen map view. This is great if you're in an event and you're trying to click around and see what's going on spatially, instead of just looking at it as a full list. You can go in and click that as a traditional map. And then finally, we have configuration down at the bottom. This is where we're going to create those cameras. We're going to connect the image pipes behind the scene to make sure things are flowing quickly. We can also create alarms. And then the Contrail camera application has a full service API. So you can use this on your agency's websites. You can use it obviously within the primary Contrail application to visualize on dashboards and site and sensor pages, which we could show later on if we have some time. So I'm going to start kind of up at the top and just really briefly, I'm going to skip the first camera section here because we're going to come back to that. But we do have a slideshow. So if you're having multiple cameras, this is a great way you can have this up on your big screen if you have an operations center, and it will just cycle through. And it gives the appropriate camera name. So we recommend giving it a nice descriptive name so anybody that's looking at these images know kind of exactly where this is. We've also seen agencies actually put in a direction, looking north, looking south, looking looking towards this intersection or whatever it is. And because I've clicked the arrow here, I think it stopped auto scrolling, but you can kind of quickly go through and see all these images in a slideshow fashion, including the how long ago we received that image. So here's a great shot of a flooded roadway here of this low water crossing. We could see the staff gauge in the background, and it's really helping us to confirm that data, which is what we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. So we had the slideshow. We also have Mosaic, which is really unique for this is kind of what we see in operations centers. You can have this up and just kind of scroll, and this will automatically refresh as needed. A lot of agencies will actually make it full screen and then zoom out so you can get all the images all on one page. The next way that a lot of people look at is the list view. This is kind of a more traditional kind of sight and sensor way of looking at it. It has the camera name up at the top, how long ago we received an image from that camera, a description. So a lot of agencies will tie this to a particular gauge that's out in the field. It's either co-located with infrastructure or it's tied to. So you can put information like the site ID or maybe a quick link to the actual location or the sensor data, and then it has the most recent image. So this is another good way to kind of get that quick view of everything that's going on. You can jump back and forth and see all the different locations that you may or may not be having issues with. And then probably the one that most people look at is this tile view. It gives a quick view of all of the cameras. You can scroll through and then you can jump right in to each one of these cameras as you see fit. So this is how we interact with all of the cameras that are tied in a system. Let's go ahead and select this this station here, and just going to take a quick look to make sure we don't have any pending questions. So this is a camera, a specific camera. This is what we would consider the site page, if you will. We have a couple quick links up at the top, which we'll talk about here, but we get a nice full screen image of the actual camera. And if we wanted to see it full screen, we can click that purplish blue button in the bottom right hand corner. And then we get the actual time, how many minutes old this image is for this location. Down at the bottom, we have descriptions as well as the camera key and then a map location of it. This is a great way to document maybe model type, or in this case, the site and sensor, site ID that's located with it. Oftentimes you can put in, a little more information about the exact view, maybe where it's located, and anything that will help the user have additional situational awareness for this particular site. So if we wanted to look at, so this is the most recent image. If we want to see, all right, Charles, is this kind of trending up or down here? Let me look at the previous images that have been collected with this. So we can go back and we get all of the images over this set date range. So we have, it's showing all the images over the last 24 hours. So we're going from today at 11:25 to yesterday at 11:25. And it automatically pulls up every image. And if you want to do a quick view, you can just select it. Maybe you're just trying to see, all right, just visually, have we had any debris or anybody try to drive through this? What was maybe the furthest extent of the water? Maybe we have some infrastructure that was close by and we wanted to try to see what the greatest extent of the water that's flowing. So you can quickly click these quick link views and it will pull up each image. So we can see, hey, this is, we got close to our camera infrastructure here. Maybe we either want to verify that, or maybe we're doing some maximum flow analysis. We have these images here to go in and look at it. You can go to the kind of an image page, if you will. This is a full screen, shows you the exact time that it was received, information about the actual image, name and description and things like that, but you can also go in and download it. So you click download it and it will download this specific image. If you're wanting to download all the images over a certain time frame, you can change it here in the start and end, and then click the download and it will zip up, and then you can download all the images over that time. So this is an ideal way of not just looking at a single image, logging into a camera interface, let's just say, if you have a local camera that you can log into, but getting all of the images that have been recorded or documented by this camera out in the field. You're able to see the progression over time. You're able to store and retain all those images that are collected. We can also do things like time lapses. So in this case, the time lapse shows you let me get it right centered there. It shows you, it actually streams all the images over through the browser, connection. We could see some rain actually, and you can see with the IR camera, you can see that that water there overnight, and it stops at the current image. So this is a great way to see how things have progressed, see a lot of images all at one time, see if things are getting worse or better with flow, or what the situation is going on currently. And then if there's a particular image, or you want to verify that no one drove through it, or that you don't have down tree line power lines at a certain point, you can go back and look at those images as well too. And then the last section is the movie section. The software automatically creates a movie for each day. It stitches all the all the images together to make sure and automatically makes a movie for you, so you don't have to do that. And down at the bottom, there's in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a download button, so you can embed that within a PowerPoint. Maybe you're giving a post-event analysis, or you're wanting to save that offline, and you can click download there. So that's a lot of the kind of key functionalities within Contrail Camera. Let's kind of maybe go back to our example here that we've been discussing. So we've been looking at this Abbey Road station. We have these data points. We know, multiple PTs, and maybe the rainfall is helping to verify. Well, does the camera show anything? So if we jump to our camera that's located at this site here, you can see Abbott at Sotrillo Road, or Sotrillo Creek here. We can see, in fact, there is water on road, and we can confirm it with our staff gauge. So we're getting an additional layer to verify conditions. Hey, we have visual confirmation. This image was taken 7 minutes ago. That data point feels good. Maybe we're going to call additional resources. Maybe we're going to verify that the gates are closed or flashers are on, or maybe it's a prolonged event. We're going to actually send our public works crew out there and put out barricades and close the road indefinitely. It's also a great way, once the water has receded, to see if you have any destruction. Is this road, kind of first glance, does this road still have structural integrity? Is this culvert washed out? Is there debris on the road where we don't want people getting out of their cars trying to move trees and branches or power lines? So it's a great way both before an event to see the exact timing. It's a great way in the middle of an event to see maybe what your water extent was. And then after an event, following an event, verifying that the road is clear to pass, that it's structurally safe, or maybe you have this on a drainage basin, on a retention pond where you're going to be storing water. Hey, is there any debris on my outlet structure? Or maybe I have a lot of sediment deposition within there. Maybe I need to go out and clean those things out. So it's a great way, obviously, during an event, for telling a great story, for moving assets around, but it's also great for post-event as well too. And I just want to make sure that we were that I mentioned that as well too. So great at providing that situational awareness. Now, what can we do with these images? This is great. We can have this up maybe in our operations center, cycling through these images, focusing on certain areas as an event's unfolding, in addition to our main and primary Contrail application. So maybe we have our maps up, and we're looking at the, let's see, PT1, and then we'll toggle on thresholds here. We're looking at which areas are we're having flooding, and we're having events in that we can look around. But now we can begin to tie, as you can see the images on the map, we can begin to tie those images back into the primary Contrail application. This allows you to see all of that information in one spot. So you're looking at the data, you're looking at the additional contextual information that you created, like thresholds and alarms. Maybe you have frequency curves and particular information about what this water level means from an operational perspective. Now we can start to add in these images that we're collecting in real time back into the primary application. This gives you all of the information that you would need to make those important decisions, like evacuations or road closures, evacuating schools or homeowners, whatever that might be. Having that in one spot, you're not juggling multiple cameras, and you know, the timeliness of just new cameras. You can actually verify, okay, it did get into that building. Let's send somebody out there to check on the electronics in that station. So the first way we can do that is where a lot of people interact and look and make decisions, is right on the map. So the map is a great way, especially if your area of responsibility covers a large area spatially. The map allows you to quickly look around, see what's going on. We can click on each one of these sensors to see what the water level is. Is it trending up or down? Are we what's the exact timing of these events? Also allows you to look at rainfall, those variables that help predict the conditions like rainfall and upstream flows. You can visualize that on there. So you're looking at it situationally, but then we can add in, over on the right side, we have a layer tab. In addition to USGS hydrography layer that shows all the creeks, or any additional layers that you might have. Maybe it's watershed information or jurisdictional outline, or every drainage ditch that you have within your system. We can also add in our cameras that are collected via Contrail camera. The camera system, all you have to do is add in an API. We won't get into specifics of how to add that in, but it's very easy, very quick to add that in, and it'll automatically display them all on the map here. So in this case, we're investigating this creek here that's right on Abbey Road here, where we have our low water crossing. And we can see our water level sensor that is showing our crest of 1.32 feet above the road. We can then have our camera image right next to it. And so this will automatically show what the latest image that was recorded with Contrail camera. So we can quickly see, all right, we're having an event on this side of Bexar County here. We can see which creeks and streams are in flooding stage and we're having issues with. We also can display what those webcam images are and help drive additional decisions. Hey, where I'm seeing the conditions here, it's not just 0.56 feet at this location. What's going on there. The other thing that you can do is you can also point, these cameras don't have to be pointed at a low water crossing or a culvert or a outlet structure. They can also be pointed at infrastructure that you might have. So if you want to verify gates or flashers are on or off, you can set up these low cost cameras just up the street, or from that you can also point it at staff gauges out in the field, and you can, or maybe you have a particular building or a parking lot or a parking garage that you're worried about. These can monitor more than just a creek. You can put these cameras anywhere, and we can, because they're defined with latitude and longitude, we can locate them on the map anywhere we need to, which is really nice. Okay, the next area where we can integrate that in is what we were talking about earlier, where a lot of people spend a lot of time looking and making decisions on not just the map, is dashboards. So we have specific widgets that are designed for our Contrail camera application and bringing in those images. So for those that just want to see this, this is open to the public, demonstration.onerain.com. If you click on dashboards, we have all of the widgets that can be set up within Contrail as a demonstration, so you know exactly what each name means. And we have towards the about halfway down the page, we have a image dashboard here that shows, that is the wrong dashboard. It is actually, we're looking for the camera widget, not the image. The image will display any image that's out on the web. You give it a URL. That is great for pulling in the best example is the National Weather Service. They have a weather story. Most offices put out a weather story image or a graphic that shows all the impacts. That's a great way you can just slap that on a dashboard to see that. But we're looking at the camera widgets, and this shows all the different ways that you might want to see this. And so you can put any of these widgets on one of your dashboards that you might have set up for a particular site or a particular low water crossing or watershed or dam or whatever it might be. You can drop in these camera widgets that shows the images that are collected utilizing Contrail Camera. So the first one is the image browser. Really the first one is the single latest. So this just shows the latest camera image that has been collected by a particular camera. In this case, this is pointed back behind our office building, office park here. This will just always show the most recent one. Some people like to see or be able to go back in time for the exact reason that we were looking. Are things getting better or worse? What's the timeliness of this? Oftentimes during an event, these images come in quickly, and so the one you were looking at, trying to discern if that was a car driving through, might automatically get refreshed out of you. So you can drop in this image browser. This is a great way to go back in time quickly and see, okay, yep, it did get up to here or it didn't. Let me just jump back to latest. And so it's the same thing as the single camera latest, but you get that ability to go forward and backwards. So this is kind of, in my mind, a great way. Often, I would probably argue the best way to look at these camera images, because you can toggle back and forth and see what those images are. You know, if you're trying to say, okay, did it get up to there or there? You can quickly jump back and forth. We also have the time-lapse widget built in, so that same time-lapse where we were streaming all those images to the browser, we can do that right in a dashboard. So this is great if you have a particular site and you're trying to say, okay, it did get up to 3.1 feet. Let's go ahead and see what the time-lapse looks like over the last 24 hours to see what that extent was. And then we have the most recent movies for this particular site. These movies do run overnight, so it's not continually updated movies. So this would only really help you for an event the previous day. But really, the time lapse and the image browser is an ideal way to visualize it on the dashboards. If you have a lot of cameras and you just want to see all of them, we have a grid view widget that shows all of the different cameras, and then you can just go through and click on a particular camera. So this is Mojave County out in Arizona. They have it pointed at some outlet structures and to verify what the flow and integrity of those structures are. So now we can kind of start to see how this fits within our operations. We're not only looking at data and thresholds and things like that, we're also looking at it camera images to see what those conditions are, to verify conditions, either the start of an event or the largest extent. Also, what's going on after an event? Do we need to continue to close this road because it's washed out? Maybe it's dangerous to send someone out there to verify the conditions. Those images can help to do a lot of that for you. And then we can integrate that all in within your larger application through maps, through dashboards, and then you can obviously just embed it on a single site or sensor page as you need as well too. Okay, so this is really nice. This helps provide that additional view when you're looking at it situationally, trying to decide whether to close a road or to evacuate someone. When you're in the middle of an event, maybe for a burn scar, recent wildfire that you had, hey, what's that flow? Where you can have some pretty crazy data points jumping up and down based on debris dams and things like that. These images help to provide situational awareness for that. The one, I guess, challenge with this is you need someone looking at these images. You need someone who is physically has the image up to look at it. And so with data, we can alarm on that. We can write an alarm and say, hey, let me know when this gets to 4.1 feet, because I know, that this means this, and I have to go do X, Y, Z, or call these people, or evacuate this building. The camera images, they're just kind of passively collected, if you will, where passively in the sense of we're not always watching this, right? You have to have someone in that control room looking at those images to really verify what's going on. And that's why for a long time, camera images were just a secondary data point, if you will, right? It was supplemental. It was just there to verify what the data was reporting out in the field, or it was used in post-event analysis or documentation. But we've added in the capability to actually start detecting objects that are being recorded within these images. We're utilizing artificial intelligence and certain models to detect and start to piece together what is out in the field and what's going on. This is great for maybe an area that has people can drive through. In this case, Bear County is a good example. You want to know if a car is stalled out on this low water crossing, and if there's water on the road, or there's raining upstream, or we have river flooding upstream, and there's going to be an issue there. So with that, we'll go ahead and start to talk about that. So let's jump back to our Contrail camera application. And within that, we can add in a Contrail Vision license. Our Vision is the name of our AI licensed here that does automatic object detection. And that object detection will locate common things, and you can really tweak it and define exactly what might be important to you. So for example, maybe you want to know if someone is driving on a dam or a spillway before you make a release, or you want to know if a car stopped on the side of the road, or if you're having someone detecting a person walking on a dam, or person walking through floodwaters, or things like that. And with that, we can tie that data back to Contrail to alarm on it in addition to our data that's being collected. Okay, so we're going to go back to our example that we've been using, Abbey Creek here, and if we go to images here, we can look at all of our images that have been collected, and we can see about 2 hours ago we had a van drive through, kind of a sketchy looking van here. But when we click on this image, we now see boxes, and this is the object detection. This is the AI. In this case, we're using a particular model that's a general AI model that's great at detecting all sorts of common objects that can be detected within images. And we can see first it's detecting a tree, which hopefully we don't see trees moving too often. That means we're in the middle of a pretty big event. But this in the bottom left-hand corner, someone drove right through these floodwaters, and maybe we want to know about that, right? We want to know if someone's driving through. Maybe we have a camera that's motion activated, or we want to know if someone has stalled out within the waters. Maybe there's not great cell service here, and they might not be able to call 911 on their behalf. Or we just want to be proactive and record that, hey, it was water on the road when this person drove through, or when this person stalled out, or maybe they stalled out before the actual waters came in. So in this case, we have the object detection picked up that, hey, there is a car present in this image, and it has what we call a bounding box over where it thinks that car is. Also has, you can see the secondary one says it's a van. So it could detect multiple objects and types of objects, also picking up the wheels that are located here within the image. But down at the bottom, we have things called labels. So when our object detection is running in our cloud, we have a very long list of things they can look for and things they can detect. typically you're only going to want to really focus on a couple things, right? Depending on the exact reason you're putting the camera out there. So in this case, we can toggle off trees. We don't need to know that there's a wheel because it probably will pick up that it's a car. We can leave van and tire. We'll leave van on and land vehicle. And so you can see those other boxes have since turned off, and we have successfully detected that there's a car or a van in this case located within this picture. We can see all the camera labels, and then we have a percentage here. This percentage, you can think of it, it's not exactly like it, but you can think of it as a confidence. How confident is the system that this tree that it detected is in fact a tree. In this case, it's fairly certain that it's a tree, 91%, but the same thing with car, 74% or 61% for the wheels detected. Okay, so that is an individual image. And then so we can tie in, and I'm running out of time here a little bit, so I'll just kind of talk through these next parts here. You know, we now can tie in this object detection, and this object detection is continuing to run. Every image that we receive, if you have this turned on for that camera, we will run and look at and try to the system will try to figure out what's in that image, and if there's something that's important to you, like a car or a person, it can let you know, and it will do that through its with its confidence percentage that's highlighted there, and through its labels. This then, you might be saying, well, that's cool, you can detect it. Well, what can you do with that? Now we can set up we can give it a sight and sensor within the primary Contrail application. So if we jump to that camera here, this is how it's set up within our system, and I won't scroll down so you see everything. But we can edit things like tags, and if we need to crop anything or do any sort of updates of the latitude and longitude, what the retention is, things like that. We can also, if we click on the model here, we can give it an action. So an action can be something like, hey, let me know if there's in this case, let's just say car. There's a car within the image with the total count. So if you want to know if there's more than 0, right, is equal to or greater than or equal to 1. So I want to know if there's at least one car in an image. We then can push that back into Contrail as a sight and sensor. So we give it a API, give it the site ID, sensor ID. Let's say call it car count as the sensor ID. And then if there's in fact more than one car, more than 0 cars in the picture, it will push a data point on the total count of what it's detecting. Now, why would you want to do that? Once it's in Contrail, we then can couple it with the data that we're collecting at the site. So we know exactly the data points that are tied to it, that there is water on the road from the data, but we also can look at an alarm on whether there's a car stuck there, and wake up the appropriate people to at least verify it or see what's going on. And maybe it goes to a different group. Maybe it goes to the Swiftwater Rescue Team. Maybe it goes to fire department or your public works to go out there and really close the road or whatever the application might be. And so this is how we would push that data back into Contrail, is through actions. We define those actions via conditions. Hey, let me know if there's at least one car or more. Let me know if you see a person with this amount of confidence. You're this sure maybe there's a tree that looks kind of like a person, and you don't want to wake up the whole world because every once in a while the leaves fall just right. So you can do things like confidence, total counts. We have kind of a minimum score, maximum score, what's the range, things like that. This allows you to really hone in on and tweak and configure this to whatever you want. And then from this, we would apply an action. So in this case, we're going to push a data point to site ID, sensor ID. So maybe you add in a sensor ID to this, to that Abbott site that we were looking at that just says car count. And then you can write a rule that says, hey, notify these groups or these contacts if the water level is above 0 and you see a car. That can be in addition to your standard operational alarms. You certainly don't have to do this, but for those that are maybe have a lot of cameras or have very flashy systems where things can go wrong in the middle of the night, like in this case, it started raining and started flooding in the middle of the night, where people might not be watching. This is a great way to have an extra set of eyes, if you will, in this case, virtual eyes, looking at each image that comes in. And if there's anything that you might be weary of or you want to know about or be alerted, you can alarm on that, alarm on just what the AI is detecting, or couple it with rainfall data, with upstream river data, or with the actual site that's located at that location. Okay, so I'm going to take a look here. I haven't seen any questions come across here, and haven't had anything come up on the chat here. All right, so this concludes our webinar. If you have any questions, I'll have the screen up here for just a second. But feel free. There is a lag from when I'm asking this and when we're wrapping up here. So feel free. You can shoot it in the questions box or the chat box. We will have after this, we will have a pamphlet that will be sent out to you that talks about our storm camera system, and I believe Contrail camera. That gives a little more information about this. So if any of this is of interest to you, or maybe you're trying to understand how this could fit within your operations, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to hop on a private webinar. We can take a look at your system, take a look at your cameras that you have or are planning to have, and can advise you on that, and show you how it can integrate within your cameras, within your Contrail system. If you don't have Contrail and you're interested in Contrail as a general sense, feel free to reach out to us. Somebody will reach out to you and can provide more information. We also might have a poll that goes out with that, just to get a sense. We just like to get a sense of what the industry's, who's looking at cameras, who's interested in cameras. The fact that you're on this call probably proves that you are either interested or currently operating cameras within your system, and we just like to get a sense of what's going on with that. So you should get yeah, the poll happens at the end of the webinar, not emailed. So when I clicked in, that might pop up. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to provide additional information. See, we do have questions on the actual deployment of the AI. So that's a good question. So the AI and really the entire Contrail camera is cloud hosted. The Contrail camera application, if you will, it only runs within our infrastructure, within our cloud. We do that for a couple of reasons. The primary reason is because there's a lot of storage and a lot of moving pieces with this. This is a managed and hosted service that we provide for our customers. So it can't run within your data center, but because we're doing that, we're able to run the AI within our infrastructure, and it's a flat fee for those different tiers, and it's not that much more money on top of the cameras that are running. But if you do have a base station or local instance, that is, you just would have a cloud version to log into for Contrail camera. It would be camera.onerain.com, and then you can integrate all those images back into your base station. The base station would just have to be able to go out to the internet to retrieve those images. It just makes API calls. So the Contrail camera and the AI, in a general sense, works with both Contrail base stations and Contrail servers. It just runs within our data center, and you just pay a subscription service for that. So hopefully that answers that question. And then we have another question about just controlling the actual physical cameras in addition to those still images. So the Contrail camera application in general is an image collection service. As of right now, it's only designed to collect and store and then serve up those images. Any additional configuration or operation of the camera will have to be done on the camera itself. So a lot of locations or agencies will install a PTZ or pan-tilt zoom camera. Instead of just getting one still image, they like to go in and maybe see if water is breaking over a spillway or something like that. Those PTZ controls and operations will still be done by logging into the camera and doing that manually. There's a kind of a whole host of reasons for controlling that from a security perspective. Now we can trigger image collection, can be done through dashboards through our StormLink camera system. That is a OneRain product. We can also, if you have multiple camera angles, we can trigger those as well. So with the StormLink cameras, we can do some control, but if you have your own camera system that you purchase separately, all that control would be done directly on the camera. Okay, thank you everybody for joining our webinar today. Again, if you have any follow-up questions, or you want something clarified, or you would like to have this presentation given to someone within your agency, feel free to reach out to us. Everyone should get an email saying that this was recorded, and they can pass that recording along to anybody that they see fit. Feel free that this also might be posted on our YouTube channel. So feel free to send that out. But if you would like a private demonstration of this, again, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to give that and provide any additional information or clarification for what we presented today. That concludes our webinar. Thanks again for joining us and have a great rest of your day.